All right, what's going on, Giants fans? Reacting to the Giants' 22-20 preseason loss to the Patriots. Before all that, like, subscribe. Bobby Skinner, by the way. All right, let's start at the top. The starters finally played, and that means Daniel Jones played his first preseason game of the season, the first time we've seen him in game action since Week 17 versus Dallas. And it could have been a great night. It could have been a great night, but you leave with the sour taste in your mouth. Like, let's look at the stats. 17-22, 135 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 77% of his passes. So if you just read that stat line, you'd see the interception, like, okay, interceptions aren't good. You'd be like, okay, that seems like a decent night, for the guy playing for the first time. But the interception was bad. Like, really, really bad. Not every interception is made the same. And interceptions are going to happen. Daniel Jones is going to throw interceptions this year. He can win the MVP, and he's going to throw interceptions. And I want him to, in a sense. I want him to be a guy who takes chances and plays risky. But the difference between taking chances and just boneheaded, stupid plays, and that's what that interception was. It made zero sense. It was behind. It was wobbly. He put nothing into it. And it was completely missed Evan Ingram, and it turns into an interception at the 1-yard line. And that's the difference on 3rd and goal between 3 points and 0 points. And I know you want to get that touchdown in there, and I wish they would have just pounded it in a real game, but regardless, you have to throw that ball away. It's the difference of winning and losing this game if it was a regular season game. Like, that's a 4-point swing. They lose by 2 points. And he did get so much better as the season went along last year, like that Tampa Bay Monday Night Football game. He had 2 of probably his worst interceptions of his career, like boneheaded interceptions, like don't make any sense type plays. And then he essentially cut it totally out at the end of the year. Like, after that Tampa game, he didn't throw 1 interception besides 1 versus Dallas, which was a pass that was off Evan Ingram's hands. So that's not his fault. But that interception is so killer. Because, like I said, we're talking about a great night for Daniel Jones if he doesn't have that. Completes 77% of his passes. And we're even throwing in the line that, hey, Darius Slayton had that 3rd down drop. And if he catches that, he completed 82% of his passes. The touchdown to Caden Smith was beautiful. That was a Danny Dime. That's why he has that nickname. Those were beautiful passes. By the way, I'm a Caden Smith guy. And Evan Ingram, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But that interception is brutal. You can't have that. You just flat out can't. There's no excuses for that. We can talk about the offensive line, which was bad. We could talk about play calling, but there's no excuse for that play. And that play where the offensive line could play bad, the offensive coordinator could call a bad game, the receivers could not get separation, but they could all point at that and say that was a difference maker in the game. So, got it. Preseason, get it out of your system. Don't have those type of plays. Like, don't have those Tampa Bay Monday Night Football interceptions. Okay, you have an interception trying to stretch the ball down the field or fit it in a tightrope. Okay, not good, but yeah, it happens. You live with it. These are the type of plays you just can't have. So feeling not as good about Daniel Jones leaving. But again, it's one play. Fix it. But you know what? He's had these type of plays in his career, and it is disheartening. It is disheartening at this point. But again, it's preseason. Clean this stuff up. Move on. The offensive line. It's not just one play with the offensive line. And I honestly am worried about it on multiple levels. And we'll start with Andrew Thomas, who gave up a sack on the first drive of the game. Had a holding penalty. Had a couple other plays, bad plays. Andrew Thomas' issues were the exact opposite of what his early 2020 rookie season issues were. Where in his rookie season, he would overset, leave the inside open. Guys were killing him inside because he was oversetting. He wasn't trusting his athleticism around the edge. Or he was lunging and leaning and giving up his back shoulder. His issues in this game were the exact opposite of it. And again, he fixed stuff towards the end of last season, was lagging that inside foot. But I think this, mixed with some 3-step drops and the ball's supposed to be out quick, and the way they're teaching him to do his protection, is he is not setting deep enough. It's bam, bam, quick, or he's quick setting, and he's just leaving the edge for guys. He's leaving the edge for guys, and he's not wanting to punch and lean like crazy, and he's getting guys into his shoulder, and they're turning the edge, and they're getting to the quarterback. Now, it's a good thing this happened in a preseason game because this stuff is fixable. And we saw his biggest jump from last year was on 10 days rest after a Thursday night, or 11 days rest on Thursday night versus the Eagles, to the Monday night game versus the Bucs versus Jason Pierre-Paul, where he played great and started protecting the inside. So, But it's not good. Year two, he's supposedly had a really good camp, so you don't want to overreact to it. But man, he's got to get deeper in those sets. Like, trust your athleticism, but he's trusting it too much where he's like, I could wash everyone around. Now in practice, you're not allowed to touch the QB, so you might get away with some of those things, and he hasn't faced the best pass rush in the Giants with, their edge isn't great. Their edge room isn't great. But 2 weeks before the season starts, and you got Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. And the other tackles didn't look great either. Nate Solder gave up a sack. He started the game, by the way, which I'm interested to see if that's for real. Like, is that for real? Is Nate Solder going to be the starter week one? Supposedly had a good week of practice. And Matt Parrott didn't do anything to stop him from that. I mean, on that fade to Sterling Shepard, Matt Parrott got embarrassed. It was the worst tackle rep of the night out of all three of those guys. That was the worst rep of the night. Solder started out decent and then had a couple of bad reps. So, yeah, the offensive line, the tackles are a huge worry. And Thomas really wasn't a worry for me going into this season. But, he's got serious stuff to fix. It wasn't one bad play. Those were okay, there's something wrong here. He's not setting quick and deep enough. Now, part of that was, and this doesn't absolve blame because even then he wasn't setting deep enough. But the offense is the same. The system is the same. It is quick. 3-step drop, so many stick concepts. I was watching the route concepts, and it was stick, 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 stick. The only times it wasn't was on, third down and long, which is when you had some of the better plays. The drop by Slayton, that was a good play. Caden Smith wasn't on third down, but that was a deep play. They ran 4 verts on that drive because they were trying to get the ball downfield. Check down, good stuff. The Sterling Shepard comeback route, good stuff. But it was the quick stuff that was almost leading to more pressures and sacks. Because, you don't have your best players in right now, your playmakers on offense. You got Shep, Slayton, and Ingram. You got the same guys as last year, and they were playing man coverage, keeping an inside linebacker in the middle in the spy, and the guys weren't getting separation. So Daniel Jones was 1, 2, 3, step. It's supposed to be out. He can't throw the ball, or it's going to be an interception. So with the offensive tackles not setting deep, and again, that's an issue on Thomas. Solder was setting deep enough. He just got beat a couple times. It's leading to sacks / coverage sacks and just not converting on third downs. So the offense is the same, man, and that's disheartening because I thought there might be a serious change around. And I get they're not going to throw out the whole playbook in preseason, but guess what they're also not going to do? They're not going to run what they don't run. You're going to run the basics of your offense, and it is that stick, quick concept, trying to get 10 yards every 3 plays instead of trying to convert big plays. And it's disheartening. So they're going to rely on the same offense, Daniel Jones being a second year in the system, and Kenny Golladay, Saquon Barkley, Kadarius Toney making plays. And again, it'll be better than last year. It can't be much worse. They were the 31st ranked offense. But it is disheartening that it's the same basic offense that they ran from last year. So that's, a little worse. But I'm not going to go all out on that because, again, it's preseason and they're not going to play the whole playbook. Far as playmakers, Evan Ingram left with a calf injury. That's not good, hopefully he can play. I don't know what the deal is with that, but if he's out as much as we give him crap, he is an important player for the team. Darius Slayton had an ankle injury, but he came back in the game and played after that, so maybe not worry about it too much. Sterling Shepard looks like the same dude. 5 catches for 42 yards on 6 targets. He is that security blanket for Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones completed 80% of his passes when he was throwing to Sterling Shepard in 2020. So that's good, and that should open up a little more when you do have Kenny Golladay. But, yeah, they're going to be relying on these guys to make last year's offense better instead of trying to revamp what the offense is, bringing back elements of the Pat Shurmur 2019 offense of vertical crossers. It's the same quick stuff. Now, obviously, there'll be some more bigger plays, built in, and Jason Garrett likes to run those max protect 2-man routes, but not great. Mike Glennon with the Hail Mary. That was fun. Damian Willis has had a touchdown in 3 of his last, so he had the Hail Mary, 3 catches, 70 yards for a touchdown. He had the week 1 catch from Clayton Thorson. And then the Giants-Bengals 2019 preseason game, he was on the Bengals, he had a touchdown. In fact, if you go listen to our podcast, I mentioned him as the Bengals player. Man, he looked really good. David Sills had 1 catch for 14 yards, and then he had the out and up where Mike Glennon missed him. I hate to say it, but I think I don't think he's making the team. They were playing Dante Pettis and CJ Board with the first team in the first half. David Sills didn't get a single rep with them. That could be telling. Now, you can spin that however you want, and I hope he does make the team, but I don't think he's going to at this point. On the defense, I won't spend much time on it because it was good. I mean, they gave 6 points in the first half with the starters, and that was missing Adoree Jackson. Like Patrick Graham, also, by the way, on third downs, we talked about it all offseason. They're going to want to blitz more. They're going to want to play more man coverage and blitz on third down. That's what Patrick Graham did in Miami. That's what he tried to start doing in 2020 and realized he didn't have the personnel to it and changed because he's a good coach, unlike some other coordinators. But anyways, they were lining up in the A-gap, and they were blitzing on third down, which when you show that you'll blitz, then it opens things up. But they were playing good man coverage, like even Rodarius Williams, who, I don't know if I trust him starting. I don't trust him starting. But he looked good. The Patriots didn't fully game plan, so maybe a team that's game planning, it's like, okay, attack him. When they blitz, attack him. But for what they were shown, they looked really good in man coverage. I mean, Bradbury had a nice play on a curl route. Logan Ryan was playing good man coverage. They look really good in that. So the defense may carry this team to the playoffs. Like, playoffs is the expectation for this Giants team, and the defense may be the one that carries them. Especially you bring Adoree Jackson back. He's supposed to be good for week 1. So the defense you can be excited for. But the offense is brutal. I'll finish off some roster bubble stuff. Gary Brightwell played over Corey Clement. Gary Brightwell was going to add special teams. They drafted him. That might be a move that we didn't really expect. Ted Larson played over Kenny. Now, Ted Larson got banged up at the end of the game, but he started over Kenny Wiggins. I didn't get to rewatch yet and see how he looked, but he looks like he might be over Kenny Wiggins. And then the one I mentioned before, Pedersen Board over David Sills. It just looks like it's going to happen. So we'll have a podcast out in the morning. I'm going to call Justin after this, flush out his thoughts, see if I can get a rewatch in. We'll record the podcast. So it'll be out at 8 in the morning for you YouTube people. Probably around 1 in the morning for the podcast people. So we appreciate you guys. 2 weeks till regular season. 2 weeks till it counts. And I'm worried. But I appreciate you guys. Let's go Big Blue.